Boys and girls, it's the weekly short with Blind Spiral. Let's talk about all the things coming up. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the playoff bracket. So not much changes other than the Liquidators and Win Lake Flynn continue to flip back and forth between who's making it in the playoffs and who's not, who's going to play in the extra pick bracket. So those two swapping yet again. And then we added some different things onto here so we can see the Red X. So Nate, Project, and Blind have all been eliminated from the playoffs with their team. So we've got that designated by the red X there. Nobody else has anything else yet. Nobody's locked into the toilet bowl yet. Nobody else is eliminated. Nobody's clinched a playoff spot, even though it's pretty much a lock for some teams. It hasn't been official yet. We'll add those emojis as we get there. Let's talk about the matchups for this week. So Flynn slipped last week, and they play the implications this week, and they need some momentum heading into the games against the Division of Death. That being said, I think the implications aren't as much of a bye week as they maybe were in the past. They actually would have beaten Flynn last week. This game should be a Flynn victory, but it will be something to monitor with a couple key pieces for Flynn on bye here. But Flynn really needs a 2-0 sweep heading back into that playoff hunt and heading back into the Division of Death, where it is not going to be easy. Moving on to Seawards versus Brownout, I feel like Rick's team reminds me of the AFC North games whenever they play each other. Like, no matter how bad some of teams have been or were, they just are scrappy and put up a fight consistently. And we saw that again from Rick last week, 125 points over Flynn, and beat the median. Would have been 3 points behind Brownout, a little bit less than 3 points actually, had they played last week. And you wonder if some of those start-sit discussions in Brownout's head and K-Mix's head are going to get to them again. A loss here for them, I think, would be crippling. And I think that playoffs, you make the bye. That's a statistically huge advantage over not making the bye. And, I feel like at this point in time between Brownout, the Pandas, and the Inaugurals, one loss could be all it takes. But we'll see. Also, Rick staying scrappy. Does Rick go for the extra pick bracket? Does Rick stay in the toilet bowl? Who knows? Depends on how their team goes, I suppose. Ticket to ride against Project Badass. Project's been quietly scoring over 100 points in the last couple of games, but they're still speed running to the toilet bowl. This matchup really shouldn't be too eventful unless Project picks a perfect lineup and Codes throws it a bit, unless somebody has a monster week like we saw Jamar Chase have last week. But I wonder if Code's a buyer at the deadline. Looking at their team, notice some really tight end interesting situations. Fryermuth and Dalton Schultz really not getting it. That's really the only weak spot for Code at tight end. I wonder if they buy and where they could buy from, if they even want to. That's a question for Code. Nate against Chase. Nate dropped less than 30 last week. It's a disaster, but I really am excited for what the team looks like in 2 years when it's a completely clean slate with plenty of cap room. It's really interesting. The Liquidators dropping a casual 190 after getting Christian McCaffrey back in the lineup. I think they hold on to the playoff spot. They've got an easy game this week. They've got 2 easy-ish games in their playoff bracket run through their division against Code as well. I think it's an easier route for them than it is for Win Like Flynn. We'll see how the rest of the year looks. Morgan versus Unicorn coming in there. Both teams are slipping, but they're still in very different situations. Unicorn's got some major injuries, but holds a dominant record. Unicorn mentioned in the league chat possibly being a seller at the deadline, and who would have thought? I wonder if they do it. I don't even know if that's possible for a team that's had such success as Unicorn, but will it be another one of those playoff collapses for the Kung-Fu Pandas? And then Morgan, at what point in time do you do something? I feel like sticking with what he's doing isn't working anymore. 4 games back from the playoff spot. Do you push the chips in further and try to fight for that spot? You've got free wins, but so does Allen in your divisional race. Or do you pull things back and try to make a trade that benefits you in the end? And the game of the week, it's the Inaugurals against the Deli. It's Cam against himself here, as the meme goes. If Allen can win this game, it locks the division up for him, basically. If Cam can win this game, it comes down to Cam versus K-Migs in their playoffs. But Cam's down a super flex starting quarterback. Do we see a trade with Cam and Code to swap backup quarterbacks and tight ends? I think it makes sense. Somebody call somebody. And your obscure rule of the week, the trade deadline. It is 12/1. I know I said in league chat at some point in time it's going to be a little bit sooner. It is December 1st this year, and every year there will be a group of us in the Discord doing a trade deadline end of the year thing. So at 12:01 on December 1st, it ends. So 11:30 that Saturday, trade deadline, last day you can make trades for your push in your respective bracket. We'll see you guys soon.